I think social media, the funny part is people, they're like, the mainstream media is just misleading us. I don't think it's the mainstream media. I think it's the social medias. Quite frankly, it's us. It's all of us that are the problem. Now, again, I'm not going to argue for mainstream media doing a good job. Remember what they get paid for? What does mainstream media get paid for? They get paid for your attention. They get paid for clicks. Advertisers pay them for you to watch their videos, be on their website, and watch their ads.
I use Throom targets on the range for all the benefits of steel with none of the drawbacks. They're made in the USA too. Pick up a set to make your shooting more fun and effective.
And they get paid to manufacture outrage. You ever heard the thing on the news, if it bleeds, it leads? Do you know why they say that? Because your outrage goes, no, click. Oh, I'm so mad about that. I have to tell you, you are stupid. And then all your friends see your comment, you are stupid, and then they watch it too. Yeah, I agree with you. He is stupid. And that outrage just gets manufactured and gets turned into money. That's really what the reality of things is, okay? So, nevertheless, some important considerations. Now, there's lots of numbers here, and I don't want to bog them down too much. But what we have here is we have, where do people live? So this is the area, the United States total. See that at the very top, the United States total. Then underneath that is a metropolitan statistical area. Phoenix is considered a metropolitan area. Then we have cities outside of a metropolitan area. My friends, my CEO, Stephanie, of our company, and her husband, Neil, my CMO, they live in Mitchell, South Dakota. Anybody ever been to South Dakota? Right. And what do you find when you go to South Dakota? A lot of room, right? So you get Mitchell, South Dakota is about 100,000 people, and then the next town is about 50 miles over. So that's what they would say is the next one here is a cities outside a metropolitan area, and then at the bottom, non-metropolitan counties. There are lots and lots and lots of counties that don't have a major metro area in it. Laura and I drove to Iowa this last summer to buy a car because it's 2021 in America. And we were driving through Kansas, and Laura's like, I can't believe people actually live out here in the middle of nowhere like this. Anybody have driven through middle America where it's like, you know, you're going to drive 28 miles straight on this road, and every 10 miles there's an identical feature to the next 25-mile town away, and then after a while you make a right-hand turn and do 28 miles that way? It's middle America, right? It's a very different place to be. So if you look, here's our whole population, 328 million. This is a second one. Now, if you look at the very top, United States total, the rate per 100,000 inhabitants. So all this stuff is how many crimes do we see like this for every 100,000 Americans? Anybody know how many people live in Phoenix, in the greater Phoenix area? About 5 million right now, inching towards 6, okay? So when we say rate per 100,000, well, we're gonna have about somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 times whatever that rate is as an absolute number every year. Because we got 5.5, 6 million people hanging around, okay? So if you look, our total violent crime rate right now is 379 violent crimes per 100,000 people. You're like, that seems like a lot of violent crimes. Does that sound like a big number to you? Now let's put that in percentage. What percentage of people? That is actually then 0.3% of people will experience a violent crime in America in any given year. 0.3. Now, of course, this is the number that's reported to the FBI. All these data charts that I'm giving you are coming from the FBI's Uniform Crime Report. Now, there are a number of violent crimes that don't get reported to the FBI. Let's just put it this way, the boys in your life. How many times has your husband, your brother, your dumb son gotten in a fist fight and the cops did not get called and nobody got arrested? Ever happened? You're like, no, it's never happened. Liars. Okay, I see it all the time. All right, so 379 is the rate per 100,000 on violent crime. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter, 5 per 100,000. Now, non-negligent manslaughter is, it didn't quite rise to the level of you intended to kill somebody, but you killed somebody. Most common way that we do that, anybody know? Car accidents, right? Negligent car accidents. This is, you were not in control of your vehicle and you should have been. If I drive drunk and I kill somebody with my car, we call that a non-negligent homicide. Okay? We call it a manslaughter. You're going to get sent to jail for manslaughter. Now, you're still going to do 20 years. But you didn't intend to kill him, but your reckless negligence caused their death. Okay? That's how we do that a lot. So 5. Rape, 42.6. Now again, let's put that into play here. That's 0.04%. of people in your periphery on any given day. Now, of course, what's the problem with that statistic? It's reported, okay? What percentage of rapes go reported every year? I can't tell you. That is a number that is quite frankly impossible to put a number on. But that's the ones that get reported, okay? And so I want you to recognize that. Now, robberies and aggravated assaults. If you notice, murders is only 5. That's this column here. Murders is only 5. Go over to aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is an assault that either involved a weapon of some kind or did great bodily harm to someone, which means that it put them in the hospital, broke a bone, caused significant loss of use of a limb, or a significant loss of body function for a significant period of time. So you think broken bone, hospitalization, surgeries, stuff like that. If somebody smacks you upside the head, that's an assault. That hurt, but it didn't put you in the hospital, didn't cost you any of that stuff. Somebody stabs you with a knife, now you're gonna go to the hospital, you're gonna get stitches, you're gonna spend a few days in there. Somebody breaks a bone in your arm, I'm gonna be in a cast for a number of weeks, I lose use of that. That's considered an aggravated assault. That's a much bigger number at 250. Now here's an interesting thing I just wanna kind of show you. If I live in a metropolitan area, violent crime as a whole, you see the 379 as America? No, because the numbers are too little, okay? So in this category here, in all of America, 379.4 is the rate of violent crime. If you live in a major metropolitan area like we do, it's a little higher than that, 395. Why? Could you think about why that is? Because we're closer together, right? There's a higher population density. We bump into each other more often, and when we bump into each other, the chances of bad things happening go up. If we live in a city, but outside of a major metropolitan area, same thing, 390. Functionally, those are identical numbers. But then if I go down here to non-metropolitan counties, it goes down to 200. So what does that tell me? If I don't want to be a victim of violent crime, first thing I can do? Move to the country. Why? Well, okay, maybe we say they got guns, but more than that, there's just fewer people around, fewer miscreants. Now you go, but wait a minute, John, I don't want to live in the country. Yeah, so I'm married to a woman that, I'd live out in the country, but I married a woman who likes the city life. And so I'm okay, we're not living in the country, right? And so again, wait a minute, this might be a thing. I want you to recognize this though, whether or not if you live in any kind of metropolitan area, any kind of city, your violent crime rate's about the same. The difference is, you go out in the country, what does this tell me? My population density matters. That's number one. So by that, I know some people are like, well, just move. Would we all agree that it's not quite so simple? There's a lot of factors in that, right? For anything from, yeah, but my kids live here and I want to live near my kids, to my job is here and I need to be in proximity to my employment, to this is where I'm from and this is the kind of life that I know and I don't want to abandon my community or whatever, right? There's just a huge number of things that do that. It's like I was born and raised in California, okay? And I'm a gun guy, and so I do gun stuff, and my California friends, they don't get to do that. And people are like, well, you should just move. Come on, man. It's not that simple. You got a lot of stuff involved in that. Now, many Californians are choosing that. They're like, no, I don't care. I'm moving anyways, but I don't think it has anything to do with guns. I think it has to do with cost of living. But my first point here is that you think, wait a minute, what's my first real thing to think about in terms of if I'm going to be victimized? It's the population density where I live. Anybody here ever spent any time living in an apartment complex? I have. Was it harder to live in an apartment complex than live in a subdivision of homes? Why? Everyone crammed on top. Cause there to be that person's loud, and we're gonna get, and so this guy's a jerk, and he's always beating the crap out of his wife, and so then that way it spills out of their apartment and into my stuff. And listen, that's a socioeconomic status thing, right? We lived in apartments for the first, 10 years of our marriage? I think it was 10 years, something like that. And man, our last apartment, we lived in the ghetto in East County, San Diego, El Cajon, California. Okay? So in the 80s, the methamphetamine capital of America. Mexican Americans have rights too. But our point, man, when we were living in that apartment complex, sketchy and dangerous all the time. Then we're like, no, we want to buy a home in the suburbs. What did that change? I know some people go, well, it just changed the fact that, people are making more money and so they're doing better. Quite frankly, a lot of it is simply population density. The guy that's 2 doors down that's having a fight, I probably don't get to hear it. And so we're not having that problem. And that population density really matters. I just want you to recognize that. Some more statistics. Let's look at this. Serious violent crime victimization rates by race. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about this. But we should. And I got to tell you, one of the biggest things that I fight on my channel is people who have they take a wrong and backwards view of what this means. And I'll explain what this means to you, okay? So we have 3 different numbers here. The top one, the light blue, is you can see on the bottom here, is the serious violent crime victimization rates for non-Hispanic black people in America. The middle one, the brownish one, is Hispanic people. I didn't choose the color, okay? It wasn't me. And the blue one, the dark blue one at the bottom is non-Hispanic whites. Now, again, looking, 1973 on this statistic to 2015. What's my overall trend for all races? Converging and going down. So what did we see on our first statistic? We're safer than we've ever been in history, okay? However, do we still see a difference? If we look for white Americans are 5 violent victimization rate per 1,000 people, total victimizations in America in 2015. Black Americans, closer to about 9. So who's most likely to be a victim of violent crime in America? The statistics don't lie. Black Americans are far more likely to be the victim of violent crime than white Americans. Now, what's the problem with saying that? So I could say, move out of California, but I can't say, don't be black. That just doesn't work. And I can't say, so I tell folks all the time, so Laura is half Native American and half Mexican, right? I can't say, stop being Mexican. Flap your wings and fly. Now, I say that as a white guy, right? I am half Viking and half English peasant. I'm like as white as it gets. But I want you to recognize, so you go, wait a minute, is that something that I have to take into account? You should. Now, I know I'm gonna step on your toes with all that stuff, but you say, wait a minute, I didn't earn that. I'm a white guy, so I'm less likely to be victimized as a statistical anomaly than if I was black. Is that true or is that false? It's true. Statistically, it's true. Is that a privilege? It's something I didn't earn, but it's something that I get. Okay. Why ignore that?